So I got a question on my recent video on Noah's flood. It was asked whether my opinion on what happened on the last day of the year is really necessary to understand why Noah took the covering off on this day. And the answer is really no, you don't need my additional concept about Noah having 40 days to build the ark. You don't need that concept to make this connection. And let me show you what I mean, because something else that was mentioned, and this is true, is that on this day here, the 17th of Heshvan, when the rain began, Noah actually would have known this day. He actually would have known this day. Down here in my note, I say that I say, due to the chaos of the deluge, the celestial bodies were useless for determining the calendar dates found in 7-11, 8-4, 5, 13, and 14. Okay. What was said to me and what is true is I don't need to say 7-11 here. I have it listed here because these are all the occurrences of a calendar date in the flood narrative: 7-11, 8-4, 5, 13, and 14. Well, this one though, Noah would have actually known this day. Of course, he knew that the rain began on the 17th of the second month. Okay? So no matter that the flood began then, that he couldn't. I mean, it was actually this day that he entered the ark and it had the covering, so he couldn't see the sky. But he knew this was the 17th of the second month. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that he knew 46 days had elapsed in the year so far. Of course he knew that. The 17th of the second month here. Well, then he knew 46 days had elapsed from the first day of the month. So, of course, he did know that. So this might not be entirely accurate here to list this as a day he couldn't discern. He actually would have known that day. So that's one little thing that was, that is true. And so my friend is correct. He's right. But that being the case, so check this out. So, see, it's always been wondered, when Noah was at this point in the flood, how would he know to uncover the ark on this day? How would he know to do that? That's what people have wondered. It's because, okay, so at this point he knew 275 days had elapsed from the 17th of the second month here. Okay? Right? Well, what he also knew is that 321 days had elapsed from the first day of the year. Now notice, I'm not referring to the last day of the year at this point. I'm not referring to my issue I brought up in Noah's flood. I'm just laying out some raw facts. He would have known 321 days had elapsed altogether. Okay? So then it's the same basic thing. He just decided to uncover the ark on the first day of the year and look and see if it was. And in fact, it was. So that's what's going on, regardless of if you accept my theory about the pronouncement of judgment coming on the last day of the year and so forth. That's just my theory on that. You don't have to accept that. Okay? And Noah would have known the days involved regardless. Okay? So I guess that's something important I need to tell people. What else? There was something else I was wanting to say. Okay, back on page 168 of Skinner's critical commentary, he says something right here. The only date that bears its significance on its face is the disappearance of the waters on the first day of the year. And even this is confused by the trivial and irrelevant distinction between the drying up of the waters and the drying of the earth. He's saying there's something unnecessary, irrelevant. So Skinner's saying that he thinks there's like redundant things going on. He removes the covering and the ground is drying. But then over here it says the ground fully dry. And he doesn't see a good difference between these. Well, here's the difference, folks. Noah decided of his own accord that he was going to uncover the ark and look in the sky on this day. God didn't tell him to do that. He did that himself. But then it wasn't until this day here that God commanded Noah to disembark. He was waiting for a commandment from God to disembark. And there is a difference, really, between what was going on. When Noah uncovered the ark and looked in the sky, he could tell where he was and everything like that. When he looked at the ground and it was drying, though, it was still a mess. God was still restoring things. It was still a mucky mess, you know. And God didn't command him to disembark until this time here. You can see that over here, if I can get to it. So here's this 27th, when Noah finally gets off the ark, J. Maybe I can get that on the screen more. Yeah, here we go. So this day then, when Noah gets off, see, on this day, God spoke to Noah saying, disembark, you know. So Noah was waiting on the commandment of God to get off the ark. And that's the real difference between these dates, okay? I just thought I'd mention that. That's some complaining Skinner does in his critical commentary that I think is illegitimate. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. But yeah, the thing to understand, though, people have wondered, how did Noah know to uncover the ark on this day? Like, what told him to do that? Why that time? Well, because he would have known the days involved. He was tabulating the days that passed, okay? So hopefully that clears things up. And I still suggest you adopt my view that God pronounced a judgment on the last day of the year. I'm telling you, it's true. It's true. All right. Have a nice day.